it's a scary situation up here right now. We're losing our country right underneath our noses, and nobody's paying attention to it.
Well, I can't say nobody. I know the online community's been pretty strong on it, and I think
thank goodness, but get ready, because the government's going to try to figure out a way to stop that and get control of the internet too.
Well, then I might be your neighbor in Mexicali. Let me ask you this one more question on the border fence. When they started talking about that, knowing what I know on the North American Union, I said, well, if they intend to make Mexico, United States, and Canada one country and totally toss our Constitution, why would they build a border? So the only thing I could figure out was the fence was to keep us in.
Oh, yeah, I talk about that all the time, Meria. All these people that want to build this fence, they forget that a fence to keep someone out today may be to keep you in tomorrow. And fences don't work. Show me a 25-foot fence, and I'll show you somebody with a 26-foot ladder. And the greatest fence in the world was the Great Wall of China. Well, and I believe it was 1644, the Mongols penetrated it. If they build this fence, I certainly hope that they do it tourist-friendly, so that we can at least get some type of revenue of it and make it a tourist attraction.
Right. Now, when you drive through the border, don't you find that it's a joke? I look to the left, I look to the right, I see nothing but open desert. And I said, for miles and miles and miles. And I said, do they really think that somebody sneaking into this country is going to come through the actual border where all the uniforms are when everything else is wide open? It's just stupid.
Yeah, exactly. And do they think that, I guess with modern technology, they think they can patrol the border. But here's my next question. What do they do if they see someone climbing the fence or somehow getting through? Is it the death penalty? Are they going to shoot them?
Who knows?
I don't know.
Maybe they'll just evaporate them like those planes
just
at the
round them
Pentagon.
up, and it costs us more tax dollars. And on the flip side, too, okay, I've told people this also. You want to stop all the illegal immigrants from coming in here. Well, are you then prepared to pay double or triple for your food?
Exactly. Well, there's a lot of farmers here that are just not planting because they have nobody to pick their food anymore.
Well, and the thing is, if you're going to get me out there to do it, I'm going to charge you $200 an hour.
I hear you, especially in 110 degrees.
Yep. And to me, we don't. Another thing that I found very interesting during the immigration disputes, and that was a sign I saw. And it was very profound. It said the Pilgrims didn't have visas.
Right.
And now, so we come into this country, we murder the Indians or Native Americans, we take all their land, and now we're going to require you to have paperwork to come here.
It's crazy. Well, I heard it's a little joke. It says, if you want to know about runaway immigration, ask the Native Americans.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. At what point do you say, well, I'm here, nobody else can come?
Yeah, and it seems that we have that attitude today that, well, we're here and we don't want anybody coming into this country unless they're legal and they go through the proper this and that. Imagine if you were a Mexican and all you wanted to do was come up here and take a 2-week vacation.
Well,
say you wanted to drive to the Capitol and look at that and maybe drive, up to Boston or whatever and then go to the Midwest and spend 2 weeks. And I wonder what hoops you'd have to go through simply to do that.
I could tell you, I wouldn't even want to bother.
Yeah, well, I'm certain that they probably don't either. As I said, my friend from Europe, he told me he avoids the United States like the plague because he said it's too big of a hassle.
Well, you got to also think of, you look at NAFTA and all these other treaties that killed the Mexican economy, basically forced them to become slaves for our corporations. If we really don't want them here.
Unfortunately, I'll admit that I supported it, and I believe today it was a mistake that I did as governor.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe one day we can actually get rid of it, but unless we give them back their own economy, where I don't even know where we would get it from since our economy's in the toilet.
Yeah.
What do people expect? They got to work. They have to feed their families.
Yep, and the point is that if you truly want to stop them from coming here, rather than putting a fence up, you have to stop the people who hire them.
Exactly.
If that's your ultimate goal. It's just like the war on drugs. They try to stop the war on drugs on the supply side when to win it, you've got to stop it on the demand side. And one of the big things, I'll tell a quick story here of how it shows what a failure the war on drugs is. When I was governor, I sat on the board that could commute and expunge records. You know, if you had a crime, we could wipe it clean. And it was myself, Kathleen Blatz, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and Mike Hatch, the Attorney General. All three of us had to concur, or it wouldn't happen. We all had to vote affirmative. If anybody was negative, it didn't happen. Well, we had one case of a first-degree murderer in Oak Park Heights, which is Minnesota's most secure prison. It's underground. It's where we put the bad of the bad. And this guy, if they fill out the paperwork, we have to hear it, whether they're there or not. And naturally, you dispose of it in about 10 seconds. You're not going to do it. Well, this first-degree murderer had shot a guy twice in the back of the head. Now, I might be able to give, a 5% leeway. It could be an accident if it was one round. Right. But when you pump the second round in, it's clear your intentions. Mm-hmm. And he wanted his record expunged, and we, of course, got rid of it in 10 seconds. We all three concurred and voted no. But the interesting part of the story and how it deals with the war on drugs, the night before I get reviews of all the cases and I go through them. And this particular individual is locked up in our most secure prison 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He had been busted in prison 23 times for marijuana.
Huh.
Now, I turned to the Chief Justice, and I said, Kathleen, doesn't this make my case? Here's a guy we have locked up 24/7, and he's still able to get it, and if he was busted 23 times for it, it's very much like drunk driving. He's probably done it 500 times. If we can't stop him in prison from getting pot, how are we supposed to stop it on what is supposedly a free street corner without implementing martial law?
Right. Well, what do you think about legalizing it?
I'm totally for it. My mother told me before she died, she said the illegality of drugs is identical to the prohibition of alcohol that she lived through. She said the only people who could become powerful and rich are the criminals.
But yeah, I don't know how marijuana, the one drug that never killed anybody, got to be the demon seed. It's just amazing. It's such a triumph of negative marketing. And it's funny because the far right, the Christian right, they're the ones who are usually so against drug use of any kind. And it's very hard for me to picture Jesus Christ walking up to a medical marijuana patient and going, up, let me take that, my friend. That's a slippery slope right there. I'm sorry. That's a very bad message to kids. Now, good luck with your bone marrow cancer.
Powerful and rich are the criminals. I totally support the ability. You can control it much better. You can tax it. You notice that people don't commit crimes to get alcohol and tobacco, but they will commit crimes for the other drugs because of the fact that the price goes up 10 times as high. And let me finish. There was a great quote that Bill Maher did one night on TV, on his show on HBO. He said this. He said the Beatles took LSD, which of course is illegal, and while on LSD, they admitted that they wrote Sgt. Pepper, which is arguably one of the greatest albums ever written. He goes, Anna Nicole Smith took 7 prescription drugs and couldn't dial 911.
Well, that's a very good quote. Well, you look at Heath Ledger, same thing. It was a combination of prescription drugs. I constantly tell people just say no to legal drugs.
Yeah, but because that's the case, and you ought to. Well, you've been to Mexico. Down there, they treat you like an adult. You don't even have to go to the doctor. You can walk right in the drugstore and buy what you want.
And if you do go to a doctor,
you misuse them. That's your fault. I mean, I'm sure that if I did that and I dropped dead down there, the Mexicans would feel bad for me. They'd probably say a prayer for me, but ultimately they're going to say, well, that was his fault.
Exactly. Well, I had gotten a prescription from a doctor while I was down there. And when I went to the druggist, I was shocked, not only at the price, which was like cheap as anything, but they give you back the prescription after you fill it.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, what's this?
Yeah, go get some more later.
I know.
You know, but again, they treat you like an adult, and even simplifying it more than that. And I'm not an advocate of smoking. I don't smoke. I did smoke cigars for a while, but